You know, a great deal for us. You know, one of the good things that I've learned in being a head coach in this league now for quite a while is usually works out this way. If you go on the road, play a big rivalry game, physical game, you get a big win, you get home, you come in Sunday, and you're stuck playing with somebody even better the next week. So that kind of always seems to be how the league works. That's your reward but the depth and the talent within this league. So great win for us last week against Tennessee. Obviously, it's a big rivalry game to go on the road. We made a lot of big plays. A lot of good things happened during the course of the game. But, you know, this week you move on. You got to fix those things. We have to get better. We got to, you know, we played a little bit more physical, but we still have to get a lot more physical. We have to be a lot more consistent in our performance, you know, instead of relying on as many big plays on both sides of the ball that we did last week, you know, and then we have to continue to prepare because we're going to go into another extremely hostile environment this week, loud crowd, excited place against an extremely talented team. So another big challenge for us this week, and we got to, you know, it starts today when we hit the practice field that we need to, you know, I talk to the team. I've said it every week, and we need to continue on that path. We've continually taken steps forward from one week to the next. You know, and you don't take those steps only on a Saturday. Those steps happen Monday through Thursday is where you make the main gains to be able to take a step on Saturday. You got to work and improve Monday to Thursday. So we got to have a big week of practice this week and, you know, and take another step forward. Everybody's too cold to ask.
Given your familiarity with Mississippi State, does that add any benefit or?
Well, I think you have an understanding of personnel on the team, and you know, I mean, so I think and familiarity with the players. So as you're watching them do things, you know, that helps a little bit instead of having to spend a lot more time studying every strength and weakness of the guy on the field. You have a good idea of what their strengths and weaknesses already are.
Is physicality maybe one of the biggest things that you're going to emphasize to your guys? You know how physical they're going to be.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Well, I mean, we talk about it. You know, they got to make sure our guys understand it. You know, I think we played a lot more physical last week than the week before, but this is going to be a whole different challenge. We're playing a team that, you know, where the whole program was built on being a tough physical team.
I know you don't want it to be about you, but it kind of is going to be a little bit about you. How do you deal with that emotion yourself and your family and whatnot?
That's not hard for me. You know, I mean, I guess it takes pressure off everybody else. You know, our guys can focus on the opponent beating an excellent team. You know, I mean, you look the talent. You know, you're playing one of the best defensive lines in the country, one of the deepest, most veteran teams out there. A team that you know, everybody expects to be a top 10 team by the end of the season, and so you know, our guys have a lot going on and a lot to worry about. So I guess if the focus, any outside focus on anything is on me, it takes it off our guys and lets them prepare for the game.
You've talked fondly numerous times about Stark Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
When did you fall in love with that place? How long did that take?
Well, I'll tell you what. It's, you know what, the people, the people of Starkville were great to me and my family. You know, you know, in town, the people in town were fabulous people. It was a great place to have kids. Both my kids are born there. It's a great community to live in. You know, the fans, unbelievable. You know, the fan support. It was a place I went to, and I asked them day one, I said, we need you to show up and sell out the stadium. If you do that, we can build a program here. And you know what? The fans believed in that. The fans bought into that. Heck, started selling out the stadium my first year there, in a year that we went 2-5 at home. And they sold out. You couldn't get a seat for games. And then all of a sudden, they started seeing the results of the effort that all the fans put in. And so, you know, and then the players. You know, if you look at the community and the fans, and the players, you know, to me, I mean, you know, so many great memories. I mean, they're, you know, of the players that are there and the special bond that you have throughout the years of the guys that played for me, not just the you know, all the former players and the current players. You know, probably a little bit more competitive edge with the current players, you know, than all the former players, you know, who don't have to go take that field against us on Saturday.
Playing off that concept, what was the biggest adjustment to living in Mississippi?
You know, I guess for me, I don't know. I go to work. I get up and I go to work and then go home. For my wife, you know, probably a lot of online shopping. You know, we get a lot of catalogs to the house. There's usually, you know, like now you go home and you always check the front doorstep because there's usually a package on there. And, you know, but, you know, it wasn't a real, like a Target or lots of stores close to Starkville. There are some, you know, local stores and all that stuff. But I think that was an adjustment for my wife.
The other thing is the atmosphere is notoriously difficult.
Mm-hmm.
How much did you kind of work to even enhance that with the cowbells and the craziness? And what kind of atmosphere do you expect to be walking into?
Well, I spent 9 years creating the atmosphere, I think. So I get to go see what it's like on what type of atmosphere that you know, we spent 9 years. I spent 9 years trying to create, you know, whether it was how the team ran on the field to the entrance to, you know, playing you know, I remember sitting with marketing people, say, we need to create this type of entrance, and this is what I want the entrance to look like. I said, before the fourth quarter, we're going to go play Don't Stop Believin'. And so I spent 9 years trying to create a tradition. And so I thought that was pretty cool that, you know, now I get to go back, I guess, and see what it's like to be on the other sideline of the tradition we created.
Now, didn't the SEC at the spring meetings a couple years ago, they put some rule in that was kind of focused on the cowbells? And then
there's a 100% cowbell rule, and somehow
Okay.
we were able to work to get that passed while I was there, that you could actually ring the cowbell, but you can only ring it at certain times, and so you had to ring responsibly during the course of the game.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was. Yeah, a lot of people didn't think that rule would ever pass, and somehow I was able to get that passed and through the coaches.
Oh, you wanted it?
Yeah.
Because they outlawed them.
They outlawed it.
Oh.
You can bring them, but only.
I got you.
So the rule was it was going to be outlawed.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I said, okay, then outlaw it. We just won't enforce it. We'll let everybody bring them in. I said, or you can sign off on this rule that says you can only ring at certain times. And so the coaches said, hey, we might as well have it. You know, if you're going to bring them in anyways, we might as well try to enforce it. And so
It's a fine, though, if they don't ring
if
responsibly.
they ring after someone breaks the huddle, it's a fine.
So you think they're going to ring responsibly this weekend, or are they going to pay the fine?
I don't know about that now.
Is there a chance you're getting booed there, right?
Huh?
Is there a chance you get booed going back?
What do you think?
I say no, but I don't know.
No, I think this. I think it'll be. I think there'll be a lot of passion on Saturday night with people there. But I think most of the people, majority of people, and everybody I knew in that fan base, you know, when I think of the fans, and I think of the former players, and I think of the people of the town of Starkville. I think for the most part they're appreciative of what we were able to accomplish through the 9 years that we were there. Now, I don't know that that'll be shown on Saturday night, but I think that they were mostly appreciative of what I was able to accomplish in my 9 years there.
Hey, Dan, yeah, I was about to ask that very question, just about how weird of a deal that sort of is to kind of go back, you know, less than a year later after really building up that program.
I don't think that's happened very often, right? I didn't check the stat sheet where a guy that's coached for 9 years in the SEC and coached for 9 years at one school and had to go play on the road, and that, you know, I know Tubbs, right? Coach Tuberville. He did, but I don't think he went. Was Doug?
Yeah, his first year here, he went back to Tennessee.
Was on the road there? Because I don't think Tuberville's first year he went to Ole Miss.
Yeah,
After he left, I think it was at Auburn or something. But I mean, just it is that soon, so I think that's probably, I don't know, an interesting trivia question for everybody to go look up. Yeah, I mean, it'll be a different feel. You know, I've heard they flipped the locker rooms, so I'll be in the same locker I was in for 9 years, same locker room, so that'll be a comfortable feeling for me. Staying at a different hotel than I stayed at over 9 years, and but it'll be fun. I mean, I'm looking forward to it.
You had talked with the physicality. Their defensive line features 2 first-team all SEC guys. Considering the step that you guys took on the offensive line, how do you think that unit fares?
Boy, they're tough. You know, I mean, this is going to be. I mean, as most people I think say, they're probably the best defensive line in America. You know, and I know the depth that they have at that position too. You know, not just the one group that comes on the field that's extremely talented. They're really three deep on the front with depth and can roll fresh bodies at you. And there's not. You know, there's not a huge drop off as the guys come in. Obviously, you know, when you look at a guy like a Jeffrey Simmons, you know, who's such a special player. There's always going to be a drop off when anybody would come in the game for him. You know, I mean, you're looking at a guy who's probably, you know, a high first round draft pick, and Montez Sweat is a pass rusher. But you know, I mean, when you look at the guys that are rolling in, the drop off is going from a guy that's probably one of the best defensive linemen in America to great SEC players. And, you know, so it's that's going to be a challenge, and we're going to have to come out and you know, being on the road with handling the environment, that's going to be a huge challenge for our offensive line. We're going to have to come out and play physical.
What sort of reception do you think you'll get from the players that you coached a year ago, maybe during the game, after the game?
Well, I think it'll be different before and during than it will be afterwards. That would be my guess. I don't know. You know, knowing them, knowing all the guys, because I recruited a lot of the guys that are there, and I love guys that are ultra competitive. So I'd imagine before and during, the competitive is going to take over anything else, and then afterwards it might be different.
Coach, the last time these two teams met in Starkville, you were on the opposite sideline. First-year head coach going against Florida. What do you remember about your emotions, you know, back in the 2009 game?
I knew it was. I mean, it was a big game. It was because you're trying to build a program, and you know, I remember the game. I mean, it was. I mean, a pretty raucous environment. I know we had John Banks had 2 pick sixes of Timmy Tebow that were huge. It was a battle right down to the end. You know, as far as the game, and I think it was a game that really helped turn the program. You know, I mean, even though hard to say, hey, in a loss, there's a lot of benefit, but I think in that loss, even though we ended up losing that day, I think the guys found out that, you know, I think Florida was number 1 or number 2 in the country at the time, that we could compete with just about anybody out there. We're gonna back down to anybody. And, you know, that was my biggest thing coming out of that game, is our guys realized, hey, we're not going to back down to anybody. We're going to compete against whoever shows up here. And if we do that, we're going to have opportunities to win.
And then you mentioned the 2 pick sixes for Tebow. I don't know if that ever happened in his career. How much did your time with him kind of help you and your staff prepare for him in that game? Oh,
I mean, it's similar, like in going back, you know, you knew some of the personnel and you knew some of the different things. And so, you know, I think it helped. I mean, I knew some intricacies of things that, you know, I think one of the things maybe helped there is it was the staff was the same. You know, I mean, now they're running a very different offensive and defensive scheme than we ran in the past there. So even though you know about the players, the scheme's different, where that situation, I was familiar with the scheme as well as the players.
And did you and Tim get to connect after the game?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, he wasn't real pleased, but I mean, he won. So I'm like, don't be a poopy pants about it. He still won the game, man. You know, could be mine. We lost. You know, I mean, which one would you rather be?
Sure. The challenge of stopping Nick Fitzgerald.
Well, I think he brings so many different things to the table. You know, he's a veteran guy, so he's hard to shake. He's played a lot of football games. You know, he's got a huge arm. I mean, he can make all the different throws. Can throw it underneath, go through progression, stand in the pocket, make reads. He can throw it 70 yards in the air, and he can do that from the pocket or on the run. You know, but then then you have the 3 things, which is trying to defend his ability to throw the ball, his ability to run the ball, where he is, you know, at his best. I think one of the things is. He's big, he's physical, and he's extremely fast. And I think that's the deceptive part of it, is all of a sudden you think I got an angle on him and you don't. He's running away from everybody. And then He has the physicality to run between the tackles, the speed to run on the outside. But the hardest part of it is the ability to improvise and change a play. So you sit there and you can scheme up. We're going to defend the pass. We're going to defend and fit the run. But what happens when he scrambles and improvises outside of that? And now you have a big guy that can throw the ball all over the field that can but can run by you and run you over just as easily. So it's a huge challenge when you have a guy that has all of that in one package.
Did you watch the Kentucky game yet? Have you watched it?
I mean, I've watched. I'm not like the TV and sit down all the way through it.
You haven't done it. Last thing on cowbells, are you going to be able to simulate that? I mean, you did Rocky Top like crazy.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, we'll have a lot of crowd noise going. We'll have some cowbell, right? We got to play, right? A little. Was it "Don't Fear the Reaper," right? And practice, right? And get some more cowbell going. Crank up. Maybe we can edit it and just get the cowbell part going louder. But no, we'll have all the crowd noise going to practice and get our guys used to it. I mean, I thought they did do a good job handling, the crowd noise last week. I was a loud, excited, fired up crowd last week.
Hey, right here. You talked about having familiarity with the Mississippi State players, but how does that work on the flip side? I mean, they've changed schemes, but have you changed schemes that much?
We have a little bit. We've tried to change a lot of terminology, of signals, of all kinds of different stuff because they're going to, the players know a lot of the different things that we do. But unfortunately, they're going to have comfort against the scheme. You know what I mean? Because, the defense had gone against our offense. Their offense has gone against our defense. So there's going to be some comfort with them against the scheme in which we run, even though, we're a little bit different this year than we were last year, but overall there's still a lot of similarities. And so, that gives their players on the field an advantage.
And then you and Hevesy both have asked for more physicality from the offensive line. How do you think they did Saturday night, giving Felipe more time?
Yeah, I think we were better. It's got to be now consistent. You know what I mean? I think there's times where I thought we were physical and we were able to run the ball and knock them back, cover people up. I think we gave more effort, in finishing plays. Now we got to see that on a consistent, where that's just the norm. And that's baseline. You know what I mean? We're going to be physical, tough, knock you back. That's the baseline of what we do and what you see every snap instead of a little bit here and there.
We're starting to see some unintended consequences of the redshirt rule.
Yeah.
I think Oklahoma State had a receiver transfer. Auburn's had 2.
Really?
Arkansas receiver. Yeah, they're all transferring after 4 games. Is that okay? Is that
I haven't had it. We've talked to a lot of our guys about it. Talked about the benefits of using it potentially to their advantage. Where, I think we have a lot of our young guys have gotten in games and played. And there's going to be more opportunities for young guys to get into games and play. And I spend a lot of time talking to our young guys about development. I mean, development's a tough deal. Because we live in an instant gratification society, right? Right? I mean, right? You guys tweeting it out. Okay, I was first one to tweet what he just said. So, and I got to have it now. And that's anti-development. Development is a long process that takes time to become the player that you want to become. It's, development's a marathon, not a sprint. And so I think, we spend a lot of time with our younger players, talk about development and where they can develop and how they can develop and what the future is going to hold for them.
Kadarius Toney's a guy that's averaging, I think, something like 12 yards per touch. Do you have any plans to get him more involved, or is there?
Yeah, statistically speaking, it'd be really smart, I guess, for me, right? To give him the ball more. If he,
so I guess then, is there anything that's maybe held him back from getting more touches?
No, we try to build a little package around different things, different ways to get guys the ball. And I think one of the things one of the things I think we got to do the last couple weeks, you know, and I don't want to call it a negative, but we haven't run as many plays. And when you're not running as many plays, there's not as many opportunities to get all the touches and all the get-it-to plays called to get it to the guys that need the ball in their hand. So that's kind of a downside of it, but I'll still take the big victories because, you know, we have explosive plays or we create turnovers or block kicks or short fields. It just limits the touches of everybody on the offensive side of the ball. But I have no problem if we continue on this path. You know, we'll talk about, you know, hey, you know, quality, not quantity. And when you get an opportunity to do something special with it.
I know you said that you went to work, went home sort of deal in Starkville, but you still had to do like regular people stuff though, and you still had to kind of trust people with that. So how long did that kind of take there to kind of find the right people for those sort of like day-to-day activities?
Yeah, I know my wife probably more. Honestly, I knew people there. I always think it's different, you know. I mean, as a head coach, sometimes everybody maybe views you a little bit differently. I know people treated my family really, really well. Like I said, I liked the people that were in town, and had good relationship with the people in town. I don't know if there was a time or one of those. I think people were very accepting of us. You know, I mean, being a Yankee and all, they were very accepting of me right from the beginning. Helped when we won, but no, I still know people there and have some friends there. But I've always been kind of I guess as a coach, you're never in the community as much as you want to be personally, if that makes sense. You know, I mean, my close friends are guys, you know, that I played ball with and went to high school with a lot. I'm still really, really close with them. And you do things because I think sometimes it's different. I don't know, it's different for me as a head coach where you don't always have lots of friends. But I'm at work. I'm not at work. I'm with my family. When I wasn't with, you know, if we're at time off, I mean, it wasn't like I'm not a big guy that I'm going golf. I have like golfing buddies, and I go golfing with people in town. If I have a day off, I'm going to go caddy for my son. You know, if I have a time off, I might go on vacation with my family. And when I'm not, I don't know if there are probably very few days in 9 years if I was in Starkville, Mississippi, that I didn't go to the office. If I was in town, I went to work. And so I think that, you know, I want to make it bad of like the people were awesome there in the town. And anytime I was out, they were great. I enjoyed going out with people and hanging out with people. And, you know, when you had times to go out and be social, it was fantastic. But usually I was at work a lot.
Guys, we have our players are here, so we're going to kind of wrap this up real quickly today. We have guys back up here. Thanks, guys.